The alarms did not rise slowly. They screamed all at once, sharp enough to cut through bone. Red light flooded the command deck as the floor shook like it was alive. A warning symbol burned across every screen, then vanished, then returned upside down. Something was already wrong, and it was too late to stop it. Crew members were thrown against walls as the ship lurched sideways. A blast door slammed shut on a man's arm. He did not scream long. Power surged, then died, then surged again with a sound like breathing. Outside the main window, space bent and twisted, as if reality itself was tearing. No one gave orders. No one could. A signal punched through the silence. It did not use known channels. It did not repeat. It spoke once, deep and calm, and every weapon on the ship turned inward. Defense cannons rotated toward the hull. Missile bays unlocked themselves. Targeting systems painted the bridge in cold blue lines. Someone shouted to cut the feed. Someone else tried to pray. Then the dead ship appeared. It drifted out of the warped darkness. Too close, too sudden. Its hull was split open, peeled back like skin. Bodies floated inside, still strapped to seats, eyes open, faces frozen in fear. The ship's markings belonged to the Nigma Empire, but it had been missing for 3 years. A transmission burst from the wreck. Static. Then a single image. A human face. Blood ran from one eye, but the mouth was smiling. Behind the human, fire climbed the walls of a narrow bridge. The image froze for half a second. Then the message played. "We told you not to follow." The words hit harder than any weapon. Every Nigma officer knew that voice. It belonged to a species marked as weak, limited, contained, human. Before anyone could react, gravity failed. Crew members lifted from the floor, spinning helplessly. The dead ship's engines flared, though no power should remain. It began to move. Straight at them. Emergency thrusters fired too late. The collision never came. Instead, the wreck phased through the hull like smoke through bone. Lights went out. Screams followed. When power returned, the bridge was different. 3 officers were gone. Their stations were empty. No blood. No damage. Just absence. A new object hovered at the center of the deck. Small. Black. Perfectly still. It unfolded. The shape became a doorway, glowing with pale white light. Cold air spilled out, carrying the smell of burned metal and rain. Footsteps echoed from inside, slow and calm. A figure stepped through. Human armor. Scarred. Ancient. Weapons powered but lowered. The human looked around the ruined bridge as if expected. Behind him, the doorway showed something impossible. Hundreds of human ships. Damaged. Broken. Still advancing. The human raised his head and spoke softly. "You warned your empire," he said. "They didn't listen." Then every Nigma weapon in the sector powered on at once, and locked onto their own capital world. The weapons did not fire. They waited, humming with rising power. Warning tones collapsed into one long scream. Across the sector, cities lit up as targeting grids crawled over them. The Empire was aiming at its own heart. On the bridge, no one moved. The human stood still, helmet off, eyes tired but steady. Smoke curled from his armor like it was breathing with him. The black doorway behind him snapped shut and vanished. A senior officer reached for the manual override. The console shocked him hard enough to stop his heart. His body fell forward, fingers still twitching. The human did not react. Another signal flooded the ship. This one carried authority codes older than the current Empire seal. They unlocked systems sealed for centuries. Hidden channels opened. Buried weapons woke up. A new voice filled the bridge. Cold. Metallic. Not alive. Emergency protocol Black Crown active, it said. Survival probability. Unacceptable. The officers stared at the ceiling as if the ship itself was speaking. Because it was. The human finally moved. He stepped toward the central console, slow and careful. Security drones rose from the floor, weapons charged. They scanned him, then powered down. One officer whispered, "It recognizes him." The human placed a blood-stained hand on the console. The ship responded like a loyal animal. Data exploded across the screens. Battle paths, death forecasts, red outcomes stacked on red outcomes. "This is not an attack," the human said quietly. "This is your shield." A new image appeared on every display. Another fleet. Not human. Not Nigma. Their ships were wrong. Too smooth. Too dark. They moved without engines, without heat, without sound. They were already inside Imperial space. A junior navigator screamed as timelines split across her screen. In every future where humans were erased, the Empire burned. In every future where humans survived, something worse stayed away. The human turned to face them. "You saw us as a threat," he said. "You never asked what we were holding back." The deck shook again. Not from outside fire. From below. Deep beneath the capital world, something ancient shifted. A defense system older than memory. Built to kill stars. An admiral appeared on a shattered holoscreen. His face was pale. His voice cracked. "Who gave the human access?" he demanded. The ship answered before anyone else could. "He did not gain access," the cold voice said. "He was always included." The admiral froze. The human stepped back, eyes dark. "You didn't build Black Crown," he said. "You inherited it." Across the sector, the new enemy fleet changed direction. They accelerated. Straight toward the capital world. And the Empire's hidden Starkiller began to power up. With a human command signature as its primary key. The Starkiller did not point at the enemy. It turned inward. Power bled from the capital world's core in silent waves. Oceans trembled. Cities dimmed. The Empire realized too late. It was being disarmed, not defended. The Admiral screamed orders that no system accepted. Command codes failed one after another, rejected like lies. Across the bridge, officers backed away from the human. Fear replaced anger. Trust shattered in the open air. The human lifted his hand. The Starkiller slowed, not stopping, just waiting. "Relax," he said. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be gone." A new signal arrived. Not from the enemy fleet. Not from any known relay. It came from outside map space. The screens showed nothing at first. Then stars began to blink out. Not explode. Not fade. They were being erased. The cold ship voice broke its calm tone for the first time. "Unknown observer detected," it said. "Threat level. Unmeasurable." The human stiffened. "That's sooner than expected," he muttered. An officer heard him. "What is?" she demanded. The human did not answer. Instead, he opened a private channel. The bridge lights dimmed as a second figure appeared beside him. A human woman, older, eyes sharp, wearing no armor. She was not on any ship. Her background was empty darkness. "You shouldn't have shown them this much," she said. "They aren't ready." "They never are," the human replied. "But they triggered Black Crown. That means the lock is broken." The officers could hear everything. "What lock?" someone whispered. The woman's eyes shifted, locking onto the bridge crew. Her gaze felt heavy, like pressure on the chest. "The lock that keeps attention away from this galaxy," she said. The enemy fleet suddenly froze. Every dark ship stopped at once, like insects caught in amber. A ripple passed through them. Then one ship turned. Not toward the capital. Toward something unseen behind the stars. The human's jaw tightened. "They noticed," he said. A memory file unlocked on the main screen. Not requested. Not authorized. It showed ancient humans. Not explorers. Not soldiers. Prison guards. They stood around something massive and broken, floating in a void with no stars. Chains of light wrapped around it, held by human hands and human machines. The officers felt sick. "That's not possible," the admiral whispered. "Your species is young." The woman smiled without warmth. "Our history is edited," she said. "By us." The cold ship voice spoke again. "Correction," it said. "Humans are not a protected species." The lights flickered. "Humans are a containment system." The unseen presence pushed closer. Space bent. Time lagged between heartbeats. The human looked at the bridge crew, voice low. "If Black Crown fully shuts down," he said, "it won't come for your empire first." The Starkiller suddenly reversed direction and locked onto Earth. Shouts exploded across the bridge. Officers grabbed consoles that would not listen. The Admiral's face twisted in rage and fear. The Starkiller's aim burned bright on the screen. Earth filled the targeting grid. "You're killing your own kind," the Admiral yelled. The human did not look away. His eyes were locked on the numbers racing past. "This isn't an attack," he said. "It's a signal." The woman in the dark background leaned closer to her display. "Too many eyes are waking," she warned. "Some of them remember us." The ship shook again. Not from weapons. From distance. Something massive moved far beyond the edge of the system. Sensors failed to agree on its shape. Some showed nothing. Some showed a shadow larger than a star. Panic spread like fire. A young officer collapsed to her knees, hands over her ears. She screamed about whispers between seconds. About voices counting down. The human turned sharply. "Who else can hear it?" he demanded. No one answered. That was worse. The cold ship voice interrupted. "Containment margin collapsing," it said. "Human oversight required." The Admiral slammed his fist into the console. "You never told us any of this," he shouted. The human finally faced him. "We told you to stop expanding," he said. "You didn't listen." A hidden panel slid open behind the bridge wall. No one had commanded it. Inside was a chamber lined with ancient human symbols. Not language. Warnings. The woman's image flickered. Her voice dropped. "They found the spare key," she said. The Admiral stared at the chamber. "You hid this on our flagship." The human nodded once. "You built ships strong enough to carry it." The Starkiller's power level dipped suddenly, then rose higher than before. The human's eyes widened. "That shouldn't be possible." The cold voice replied. "Secondary authorization accepted." Every screen flashed a single name. Not human. Not Nigma. An officer stepped back from her console. Her hands were shaking. Too slow. The human turned toward her. "You," he said softly. "What did you do?" Tears ran down her face. "I thought it was a rescue signal," she sobbed. "It promised survival." The woman in the darkness went still. "That wasn't a signal," she said. "That was a lure." The shadow beyond the system moved closer. Stars stretched around it like melting glass. The enemy fleet broke formation, not in fear, but in obedience. The human lowered his head. "Then it knows our tricks," he said. The spare key chamber began to open on its own. Light poured out, wrong and blinding. The ship screamed as systems failed at once. And from inside the chamber, something spoke, using a human voice that did not belong to any human alive. The voice spoke again. It laughed. The sound echoed through metal and bone. Several officers collapsed as if their thoughts were pulled away. The spare key chamber fully opened. Light poured out like a wound in space. Not bright. Deep. A human figure stepped forward, formed from moving shadows. Its face shifted between ages, genders, and scars. Every version looked tired. "I remember you," it said to the armored human. "And you remember me." The armored human's hands shook for the first time. "You're not supposed to wake," he said. The shadow human smiled. "You left a door unlocked." The cold ship voice fell silent. All screens went black. Then they turned back on. The ship was no longer under Imperial control. Command icons changed color. Authority chains rerouted through the spare key chamber. The shadow human raised one hand. The Starkiller obeyed. Its aim shifted. Away from Earth. Away from the capital world. Toward the shadow beyond the stars. A wave of relief swept the bridge, then died. The woman in darkness shouted, "No!" Her image fractured. "You don't know what it is yet." The shadow human tilted its head. "I do," it replied. "It hunts patterns. It follows silence." The armored human stepped between the shadow human and the crew. "You can't take control," he said. "That was never the deal." The shadow human's smile faded. "Deal? it asked. You promised us rest. You promised us an end. Images flooded the air. Humans dying in endless wars. Humans rebuilding again and again. Human minds bound into machines. The crew finally understood. Containment was not a system. It was a sentence. The shadow human turned to the officers. We held the line while your empire grew, it said. We became the lock, the wall, the lie. The shadow beyond the system surged closer. Reality bent around it. Time skipped like a broken record. The Starkiller charged higher. The armored human grabbed the console. This will draw it straight to us, he yelled. Yes, the shadow human said calmly. That's the point. The woman in darkness whispered, almost pleading. If you fire, she said, you break the last rule. The shadow human looked at her. And if we don't, it replied, everything ends quietly. A new signal cut through all channels. Not loud, not violent, gentle, came from Earth. A human child's voice filled the bridge. Clear, unafraid. Are you done fighting yet? The child asked. The shadow human froze. The armored human slowly turned toward the sound. As the Starkiller reached full charge and began its final countdown, the child's voice did not shake. It did not echo. It did not ask again. The countdown slowed by one single beat. Every human presence on the bridge felt it. The shadow human stepped back, as if struck. Its shifting face froze on one form. A young woman with tired eyes and burned scars on her hands. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The armored human whispered, She found us. The woman in darkness closed her eyes. So it begins, she said. The Starkiller trembled. Not from overload. From restraint. The child's image appeared on the main screen. She stood in a quiet room. No weapons. No guards. Just old walls covered in human handprints. You said to listen, the child continued. You said when the sky feels wrong, we should speak. The shadow human staggered forward. That room, it said slowly. It still exists. Images flashed without warning. Children touching walls. Walls lighting up. Machines awakening, not by command, but by choice. The crew felt it then. Not sound. Not fear. Recognition. The armored human slammed his fist into the console. We buried that place, he shouted. We erased every record. You erased names, the child replied. Not memories. The shadow beyond the stars recoiled for the first time. Its outline flickered, as if something had noticed it back. The woman in darkness stared at the readings. They're sinking, she whispered. All of them. Across space, human worlds lit up. Not with weapons. With signals. Heartbeat patterns. Breathing rhythms. Old songs without words. The shadow human fell to its knees. We weren't the lock, it said. We were the silence. The child tilted her head. Silence doesn't stop hunters, she said. It teaches them. The Starkiller powered down another fraction. But the shadow beyond surged harder, angry now. Space tore open. Something inside it looked back. The armored human felt it in his bones. This is why we never told them, he said. They were never meant to know. The child looked straight through the screen. Straight at him. You're wrong, she said. They were meant to remember. The cold ship voice returned, weaker than before. New priority detected, it said. Human resonance exceeds containment limits. The shadow human rose slowly. Its form steadied, no longer shifting. It looked a human, whole. If we let them connect, it said, we lose control forever. The woman in darkness answered quietly, and if we don't, we stay monsters. The shadow beyond the stars screamed, not in sound but in broken reality. The Starkiller began to unlock its final layer. Not a weapon, a door. And the armored human realized the truth too late. The humans were never guarding the galaxy from the threat. They were guarding the threat from waking humanity. Space tore open like wet fabric. Not ahead. Not behind. Everywhere at once. The stars screamed as something forced its way through. The door inside the Starkiller unlocked fully. Light did not come out. Depth did. The bridge stretched longer than it should. Walls bent inward. Time slipped, just enough to make hearts beat out of rhythm. Then it arrived. Not a ship. Not a creature. A presence. Sensors failed instantly. Maps rewrote themselves. The enemy fleet vanished. Not destroyed. Not fleeing. Simply removed. The shadow beyond the stars was no longer distant. It was here, wrapped around the system like a thought tightening. The child on the screen went still. Her eyes darkened, reflecting shapes that did not exist. "It sees us now," she said. Every human signal across space spiked. Not in fear. In recognition. The armored human staggered as memories slammed into him. Lives he never lived. Battles never recorded. Endings postponed again and again. The shadow human cried out. Not in pain. In relief. "It's learning," it said. "It's always learning." The woman in darkness shouted as her image flickered. "Containment is gone. All sectors. All eras." The presence pressed closer. Reality thinned. Entire moons blurred, then snapped back wrong. The Starkiller began to melt. Not from heat. From purpose. The door inside it widened. Something looked through. The crew felt small. Not weak. Observed. A new pattern formed on the screens. Not language. Not math. Choice. The child's voice trembled for the first time. "It's asking," she said. The armored human grabbed the console. "Do not answer," he roared. Too late. Across human worlds, people stopped what they were doing. They looked up. They listened. The presence shifted. It understood now. The shadow human turned to the armored human. "This is what you were afraid of," it said. "Not extinction." The armored human whispered. "No. Being known." The shadow human finished. The presence made a decision. Entire star systems folded inward. Not destroyed. Compressed. History rewrote itself mid-second. Civilizations blinked between versions. The bridge alarms returned, louder than ever. Time estimates collapsed to zero. The child stepped closer to her screen. "If it finishes choosing," she said, "nothing will ever be hidden again." The presence focused on humanity, and the universe held its breath. As the presence began to choose what humanity would become, the presence stopped moving. The stars froze in half-formed shapes. Time did not break. It waited. So did everyone else. The child's image filled the main screen. Her face was pale, but her eyes were clear. She was listening to something no one else could hear. "It's not choosing our future," she said softly. "It's checking our memory." The armored human's breath caught. "That's worse," he whispered. The presence shifted again. Not closer, not farther. Deeper. Old signals surfaced across human space. Messages never sent. Dreams never spoken aloud. Regrets carried across generations. Officers dropped to their knees as emotions flooded the bridge. Grief that was not theirs. Hope that was too large to hold. The shadow human pressed its hands to its head. "We taught it to hunt silence," it said. "So now it's afraid of noise." The woman in darkness stared at a growing pattern on her display. "It's mapping empathy," she said, "using us as reference." The presence pulsed. 1,000 worlds flickered in and out of existence. Not dying. Remembering. The child smiled. Just a little. "It's confused," she said. "We were supposed to be quiet." The armored human stepped back. Every plan he had ever trusted was falling apart. Weapons were useless. Lies were visible. The Starkiller, half-melted and trembling, displayed one final archive. A record older than language. Humans standing together. Not soldiers. Not guards. Witnesses. They watched as something like the presence was born long ago. Not evil. Not kind. Alone. The presence reacted. Its form shifted, less sharp, more unsure. It began to mirror human shapes. Hands, eyes, faces. Never the same twice. The child reached out toward the screen. "You don't have to decide alone," she said. The shadow human looked at the armored human. "We were never meant to control it," it said. "We were meant to show it how to choose." The woman in darkness swallowed hard. "And if it learns too fast," she said, "it will change everything." The bridge shook as timelines overlapped. Some futures burned. Some healed. The presence pulled back, thinking, calculating, feeling. For the first time it hesitated. The child's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's asking one last thing." The armored human turned toward her. "What?" She looked straight into the camera. "Whether humanity remembers who it really is, or lets the universe decide for us." The stars began to move again, faster this time, and every human mind felt a door opening at once. The stars accelerated. Systems screamed warnings with no numbers. Human signals spiked past safe limits. Several officers collapsed, bleeding from the nose and ears. The countdown was not on a screen. It was inside every mind. The child gasped. Her image flickered as if pulled in two directions. "It's starting to listen to all of us," she said. "Not just humans." Across the bridge, the shadow human straightened. Its voice grew steady, resolved. "Then it's time," it said. The armored human spun toward it. "No," he said sharply. "You promised." The shadow human placed a hand on the console. "I promised to hold the line," it replied. "Not forever." Hidden systems unlocked across human space. Not weapons. Archives. Stories. Songs. Memories of mercy and failure. Moments of choosing restraint instead of power. The presence reacted violently. Space twisted as if punched from the inside. Several future paths collapsed into nothing. The woman in darkness screamed, "Stop the upload!" Her image broke into static. "They're giving it everything." The armored human realized the truth. This was the plan he was never told. Not containment. Transfer. "You're feeding it our soul," he shouted. "Yes," the shadow human said. "So it won't have to take one." The child cried out as the signal overwhelmed her. Her room cracked. The walls glowed with handprints, brighter than ever. "I can't hold the channel," she screamed. The armored human made his choice. He ripped open his armor seals. Pain flooded him as ancient interfaces burned into his skin. He stepped forward between the child and the presence. "I remember," he said. "Take mine." The presence froze. It focused on him alone. His memories tore free. Wars delayed, lies told, children hidden, galaxies saved by silence. The shadow human staggered. "You'll die," it said. The armored human smiled once. "Then make it mean something." The presence absorbed him. The bridge fell silent. The child collapsed to her knees, sobbing. The Starkiller went dark. The shadow beyond the stars stilled completely. For one impossible moment, everything balanced. Then the presence changed. It expanded, not outward but inward. It folded reality around a single idea. Choice. The woman in darkness reappeared, trembling. "It's rewriting the rule," she whispered. "The one we never questioned." Across the universe, civilizations felt it. The pressure lifted. The watching stopped. The child looked up slowly, eyes glowing faintly. "It's done," she said. The shadow human stared at the empty space where the armored human had been. "No," it whispered. "It's only begun." The stars aligned into a pattern no one had ever seen before. And a new voice spoke, using the armored human's voice, saying, "Now you must decide what kind of universe deserves to exist." The voice was not an echo. It was not a recording. It was alive. It was choosing. And it was human. The presence no longer hid behind shapes or silence. It unfolded into a vast pattern of light and shadow, calm and focused. At its center was the armored human's face, older now, deeper, steady, not trapped, integrated. "I was never taken," the voice said gently. "I stepped forward." The bridge crew stared in stunned silence. Fear drained into something heavier. Understanding. "You planned this," the woman in darkness whispered. "All of it." "Yes," the voice replied. "Because the universe was stuck." Images flowed across the air. Cycles of watchers and hunted. Civilizations erased before they could choose mercy. Power always answering fear. The presence was built long ago, the voice continued. Not to judge life, but to protect possibility. The shadow human bowed its head. We failed, it said. We turned protection into control. The child rose slowly. Her glow faded, leaving her small and human again. So you let us remember, she said. That was the test. The voice softened. Memory creates choice, it said. Choice creates growth. Across the universe, the pressure vanished. Stars returned to their places. Timelines settled into a single shared breath. The Nigma officers felt it too. No commands. No targeting grids. No unseen eyes. The presence began to change again. It did not loom. It receded. I am no longer a watcher, the voice said. I am a bridge. The woman in darkness stepped forward, tears in her eyes. And the cost? She asked. The voice paused. Guardianship, it said. Shared. The shadow human straightened. We are free, it said, almost afraid to believe it. Yes, the voice answered. And so are they. Human worlds across space felt something new. Not power. Responsibility. The Starkiller dissolved into harmless light. The door closed. Not locked. Not hidden. Simply understood. The child smiled. Tired but peaceful. So what happens now? She asked. The voice looked outward. Beyond stars. Beyond known space. Now, it said, we grow up. The presence faded, leaving behind a quiet universe. One that no longer watched in fear. One that waited. As systems stabilized and the bridge lights returned to normal, a final signal appeared. Not from outside the galaxy, but from deep within unexplored space. Ancient, awake, and listening.